Welcome to the Holistic Pathway Podcast, unscripted conversations on mind, body, spirit, and entrepreneurship. A brand new video series podcast where we dive deep into the holistic integration of life and business. I am Tammy Coin, your holistic alchemist, helping you change pain into possibilities and possibilities into purpose. And today's chat is with J'ahmad Emanuel. J'ahmad is a keynote speaker with over 11 years of experience as an intuitive business coach and group facilitator. He works with businesses, individuals, and organizations to amplify their self-efficacy and empower them to build their highest possibilities through strategies that increase healing, transformative solutions, and creative ideas. Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to the conversation. Stay tuned. Oh my goodness, old friend. Not old and old, but my gosh, we have been on this journey together for a while, and I am so happy to have you on this new adventure with me.
Ooh, let me tell you, powerhouse Tammy. Let me tell you, I have always been one of your big fans. I was watching your 30-day challenge because I was like, my friend, I was like, you got to be watching Tammy, like to see this evolution. Like, I think the commitment that you have to helping people solve their ailments, solve their pains, and turn it into like advantages and purpose is the commitment. It's the commitment for me.
Thank you, friend. It's our story is so fun. When I talk about our story to other people, I'm like, we are this unlikely pair that met during Periscope. With some people don't even know what Periscope is. That was kind of like the first, at least the first I knew of, live stream option, and we just became fast friends, and then finally met in person for the Marianne Williamson event that happened in Oklahoma. That was so great. And then we road tripped to Arizona together. I mean,
You know, there was a big chunk in the mind transformation. You were very instrumental in like just having a friend, having a colleague, having someone who knows what they're talking about when you need to know somebody who knows what they're actually talking about. And you were just all of that and more.
well, I love and adore you. And I remember I actually first saw you before we even met online. I saw you. You showed up on a video somewhere wearing this blue robe with clouds on it, as I recall. And I was like, well, what is this guy doing showing up on a robe? Like, who is this guy? And the more I listened to you, this profound stuff came out of your mouth. And I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but he is changing my view, because at that time I was just coming out of the federal government. Like, I had a very strict idea of what I thought professionalism looked like. I thought you show up a certain way and your hair looks a certain way, and you might have makeup on, not or not, you might have a suit on, you know what I mean? Like, I was living in a box, and that's why I eventually got to unboxing the authentic self. But you had so much going on, and then you gave me a reading. Gosh, I'm going to say that was 2016. And you shared so much insight into what was opening up in my journey that I didn't even see yet. So it's been such an amazing gift, I think, that we've been given on this spiritual path, on this holistic healing path, because we had pieces to each other's puzzle. And
Oh, yeah.
I love that. that. So tell me what you've been up to. Tell me more. You're always doing some kind of new adventure.
I feel like spirit is the adventure, right? Because if you follow spirit enough, you'll never be doing the same thing long. You'll never be in the same place long. You're literally chasing wind and just inspiring people who are just watching most of the time.
Yeah.
Because, oh, what am I doing now? I don't want to get away from the question. I am actually up and down the East Coast. I'm currently in Washington, DC,
Oh,
and
you are.
I'm going back to traveling. I'll be soon coming out west. And I was just thinking, like, you're the reason I went to California, just because I was like, oh, I need to do this spiritual road trip. And I just met all my internet friends on the road.
Yeah.
And it's so nice, but it's like now I'm really focused on like facilitating, teaching, and just helping people gain a sense of their soul consciousness,
Yeah.
getting it with the soul and listening to that voice,
Yeah.
getting beyond thinking and learning how to get back in control of that. Like slow the thinking down and process things in a way where you're sitting with it actually.
Mhm.
Slow the urges down from the body and process it in a way where you're like not just eating anything or not just grabbing anything or not just doing anything
Right.
and kinda, like, get into that soul consciousness where you're like, "Okay, I'm not letting my body tell me what to do and think for me. I'm not letting my brain or my mind tell me what to do or think for me. I'm actually going with my breath, taking it moment by moment, being present, and living in peace, joy, and, like, spontaneity," because, like, the soul is so spontaneous too because, like, when Aretha Franklin get to singing, it's not monotonous, she got soul.
She does. She does. It's so funny when I think about this journey that we've had. Because again, for anybody who's listening, this is the holistic pathway. So we're talking about mind, body, spirit, entrepreneurship. We're talking about all of it. And J'ahmad actually had a podcast, and he interviewed me on that podcast, and we were just talking about how fun it would be to like go on a trip and do this. And neither one of us knew that we were about to go on a road trip together. Like we just did not know. I had gotten the
Months, if not like weeks later. It
weeks
was
later.
not even that long later. It was wild.
It was, and that is the thing. I didn't know where I was going. I had gotten a spiritual guidance that I was to go on a spiritual road trip. I didn't really know what that meant, didn't really know where I was going to end up. I didn't have the resources to take this kind of trip. I had no money, I had no plan. I had no idea. I just packed up what I could in the car, and then we
Same.
connect, and you're like, you know what? I'm supposed to be going on this trip too. And I'm like, okay. And we follow each other down I-40. And then it was so crazy. And I was thinking about, we were sitting in this restaurant, and I had no idea. Neither of us knew what was going to happen. I was trying to figure out, well, this must be the end of the road because I've run out of money. I don't even know how I'm going to get back or get anywhere else. And I get an email from a temp service I hadn't heard from in like, I don't know, 3 years at that point, and had a job ready for me. And I mean, it was just like boom, boom, boom. And that's the thing. When you get out of your own way and you can listen, you just don't know what's going to show up for you.
Miracles I experienced on that trip alone. Like I was a part of a psychic development group circle around that time, and I had went to class because someone paid for the class. I'm in like somewhere in Phoenix. I was in Phoenix, right? So I'm like in class, and the teacher, Dr. Michelle Walker, she's like, Spirit is saying that you asked for this. And I'm like, this is a lot, but okay, I'm listening. they're helping you get past your humanness. They're helping you get past your humanness. Now, let me tell you, years later, because I mean, this is years, years, and years later.
Mhm.
My hair was like this long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I now understand what it means to like get past the humanness. It is
Yeah.
like to enjoy the human spirit, like to enjoy the self, like to enjoy the true self beyond like,
The capital S self rather
yeah,
than the lowercase s self. Yes. I love that. And you have such a unique way of working with people. I mean, I've seen you do live streams, I've seen you do a podcast, I've seen you do intuitive readings, I've seen you give business advice and marketing advice. It's like you've done so many different things. And I love that because you are definitely multifaceted, multi-talented. You've done work with the church, you've just done so many different things. And my journey seems to have kind of planted me back to the West Coast, where yours took you to the West Coast, then to the East Coast, and you've been you've been all over the place.
oh. I,
It's hard to believe.
my favorite place was the Bay Area. It was something about that Upper California area. Like everybody was on a different vibration. I really can't explain it from the rest of the country. They're on a whole nother vibration.
Yeah. Man. So yeah, I I'm just, so I'm inspired by the journey that we've both been on. It inspires me when I think about everything that we have gone through. We didn't know each other at all, then we came together, and then it's like we were inseparable for a while, and then we were kind of apart again, and then came back together, and it's just been this sort of wave, to see where it's taken us through the whole journey. Now, my journey had a lot of physical health challenges throughout it. Have you experienced any of that on your journey? You're a
No,
lot younger than I am, so I don't know if that's entered into yours yet.
no, I felt like I did a lot of that earlier on. Like a lot of this stuff I did early on. But I felt like mostly what I was trying to get a handle on was like my perception
Yeah,
of what is really going on versus what is illusion. You
yeah.
know, getting away from illusion and not being so emotionally triggered,
Hmm.
you know. So it was like getting past a lot of what I perceived was emotional pain, but it was really just my image I had about myself
Yeah,
that I'm this person. How dare you? And then I would like create the narrative,
right.
create the emotional pain, and I had to stop making shit up. Excuse my language.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But that's what we do on this human journey is it's like we have this idea of who we are based on the feedback that we get from whatever it is, whether it's from our family, the neighborhood, the school, the church, the media, and this whole idea again that takes away from who we are as a divine being, who we are authentically. And we begin to get smaller and smaller and smaller until it's like, at least it was for me, my whole life felt like a walking trigger. Like every time I turned around, I was irritated by somebody, I was angry about something someone said, my feelings were hurt. There was something going on all the time. And then I could spin into all of these stories. Um, and then, of course, there was all the trauma and abuse and loss, and that all was real things that happened. And yet, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, 50 years later, I'm still, moving in those same stories. And to be able to recognize being in the present, being in the present moment and being able to unbecome all those parts of yourself that are no longer in service to who you actually are and who you're here to serve.
Yeah, I think it's like we're calling it belief systems, we're calling it mindsets, but it's these patterns, these constant patterns
Mm.
that we keep engaging in because I think we don't want to be different ourselves. We just want the situation to be different. So we keep trying the same pattern, hoping the situation will be different.
Yeah.
And really a inner working. It's like an inner game. Like you have to break that pattern by being still, realizing you actually have a choice, and you actually have a choice that can be like what is really true. Like a lot of the times that I was saying, oh, this person is doing this to me, that person is doing that to me. Everybody's loving me from where they're at. Okay.
That's
That's
it.
all I say. Like everybody's in different places and they're loving me from where they're at. And the complexity of all that is beyond my mind because it'll disrupt my peace. It's just
Yeah.
I can't get into that kind of stuff anymore, but I do feel like the patterns, like when you sit with clients, because I know I've done a lot of work in all kinds of things, but like my focus has been like just business and spirituality, which is I'm so glad to be on your show talking business and spirituality.
Yeah.
But and like we've like you're someone I know is just always into keeping up with what you notice, keeping up with your intuition.
Yeah.
And that's the point where, like, when you start to notice things trying to pull you from those cycles, pull you from those patterns, I think it's a really great opportunity. But sometimes you don't notice it, and you need someone to you pull out. That's when you call Tammy, because, like, Tammy, I've been seeing 111. And Tammy would be like, okay, you're getting pulled out of your pattern,
Yeah.
negative pattern you're in? So it's one of those things that I think there is always the invitation to get out of the negative pattern, but it's such a sensible habit that we keep feeling like we've mastered the
Mhm.
negative and we don't even want to leave them alone because it's like, this is my story. My mom and my dad have always been like this. And
Yeah.
you know what? I had a negative story about my parents when I first hit the coaching scene.
Yeah.
When up that story, my relationship, I kid you not, changed up with my parents. And it was really just the negative narrative I was holding on to from like who knows when, how long. Forgive, allow people to change. If I could take a moment, like
Yep.
not to like the flow, I have a forgiveness card I could read because I'm big on forgiveness right
Bring
now.
it. Bring it. That's
Okay.
great. I had a conversation about forgiveness with someone a couple of days ago, and I think it's perfect. Perfect.
Okay, great, great, great. So I got the Louise Hayes forgiveness cards.
Okay.
Really nice, beautifully illustrated. And the card says, I forgive everyone in my past for all perceived wrongs. I release them with love. I forgive everyone in my past for all perceived wrongs. I release them with love. You see how the heart is breaking open and growth is happening.
I do see that. That's beautiful. That's
Release it
beautiful.
with love. Also on the back, it says, today I listen to my feelings and I am gentle with myself. I know that all my feelings are my friends. And I think like sometimes we like to turn our feelings against us. And sometimes our feelings may be just helping us navigate things to transform. That's why a lot of the coaches, the spiritual mentors, the teachers, they like to say, let's transmute some of these feelings.
Mhm.
Let's get this sadness and let's put it into art. Let's get this sadness and let's find a spark of why this is taking you and pushing you.
Yeah.
And it takes one of those things to like let everybody else off the hook because as long as you got somebody on the hook, that's mental energy. That's you're chasing them about something that happened so long ago.
Mhm.
Where these people have no remorse, or these people have moved on in their lives, or God is working with them. So I do think like there's a a release that just allows you to kind of open up. And then you have something to share because not only did the heart open up and there's a beautiful flower, but the flower has something to share.
Yeah, I love that. That is beautiful. That is
Yeah.
so good. Well, the thing about that is there are some people who may be listening in and watching our conversation
Mm.
and maybe having a hard time understanding the concept around forgiveness. So I want to just touch on that for a minute. The awareness is that it is not okay for some of the things some of us have gone through. This is not about making what someone else brought into your life. Let's say if you were a child and it was an adult brought into your life, saying that that is okay. What this is about is setting yourself free. It's about setting yourself free to be able to move forward or move up with your life, whatever that looks like for you. Um, there are times when we have these patterns through certain things, certain events that we've gone through in our life where it's important to know that while they could have been excruciatingly painful, it was a it was something that happened along your path to get you to the next part of your path. With everything I've gone through in my life, every bit of it was needed to give me the foundation I needed for the next step. And I often use the ladder as a metaphor. You cannot go from the bottom rung of the ladder to the top rung without going through the steps to get there. And some of that step is very painful. Sometimes there's trauma in there, sometimes there's abuse, sometimes there's loss. And yet, that's all we can see when we can, I say, go up onto the mountain and look down at everything that was transpiring, be a witness to what's gone on in your own life. You can maybe start to shift your perception into what did I gain from this? What value can I find from this situation? Now, that's hard to do, and it's a kind of an advanced technique that happens for people to be able to see something positive that may have come out of something so horrific. As an example, um, there's a lot of trauma, a lot of abuse, a lot of loss in my life. Had I not gone through those things and learned what I needed to learn, I would not be able to be here now doing this podcast, working with people, speaking out, being a coach, helping people through their own transitions. It was because of all of those things that I got the skills I needed to be able to hold that kind of space for people. And the awareness is that learning to be in this present moment, in the now, and recognizing what is happening in my life now. Can I create more space in my life to be able to move farther faster, to be able to move up the ladder without as many obstacles? Can I gain new tools because obstacles are always going to come, storms are always going to come. That is the nature of the human experience. The higher level to that, the spiritual level of that, is being able to grow yourself in such a way that you master the tools that you need to keep going. And that is where the forgiveness comes in. Um, when I first learned forgiveness, I was quite a hard head, quite a hothead, and I might have said, fuck you and your forgiveness. And that's kind of how I felt about it then. Until I realized this particular person that had harmed me at that time in um, the worst possible way. um, I realized they had moved on with their life and were out living life, whatever that was. I was the one still trapped in the past. And being able to forgive allowed me to be free. So I had the key all along. I just didn't know it, you know? And if people can learn from hearing these conversations and recognizing that it's possible, that's all. What I talk about on here is pain to possibilities and possibilities to purpose, because before sometimes you can get to purpose, you have to recognize that it's even possible. Thank you for sharing that beautiful message with us. I think forgiveness still kind of gets a bad rap, and it's kind of like think positive. It's like if you're only looking at the meme you saw on Facebook and you think, oh, well, okay, forgiveness means my pain doesn't matter and I'm just supposed to bypass that and forgive. That's not the message at all. There's a much deeper meaning to forgiveness. There's a much deeper meaning to think positive. I don't believe in spiritual Susie and spiritual Steve who are spouting things and, oh, they got the t-shirt. No. Did you do the work? Did you do the work that you needed to do to really feel that forgiveness in your heart because you wanted to be let out of this self-imposed prison that you've been living in for so long? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think there is a point where when we're talking about forgiveness, it may sound like we're saying a person pain isn't real.
That's
Yeah,
right.
so like I think there is a point where in this transformation of healing, I know I cried a lot. Did you cry a lot?
So much that I thought if I opened one more floodgate, I might die.
Okay.
Literally.
I still may cry, but generally it's for like out of gratitude, like the gratitude effect. Like
Yeah.
I'm very overcome gratitude. But there are points where it's like, things have happened to me. I need to sit with this. Let's sit with what happened. And then forgiveness to me, when you really sit with it and you're like, okay, where was I? Where was this person? Okay, let's not just try to make it about me. What really happened?
Yeah.
A lot of times I've forgiven other people by really just me apologizing because I sat with the situation. I just took my accountability of it. And like whatever, however they feel about it, it really didn't matter to me. But
Mhm.
it was me forgiving them and apologizing for any part I had connected to it. Because for me, I was just telling a group Friday that forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself because it frees you from like some chains to some old stuff. But it's like forgiveness is a gift you give yourself because really you could be mad at me and I really don't give a damn. So you might as well forgive me and let it go because I'm not really like you can't just because you're mad doesn't mean you're holding me hostage. You're holding you hostage, and it's sad to say that, but it's the reality of it. I was just like y'all could be mad at me and I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go on about my life.
And that is how I was able to get to forgiveness, thinking, you mean this person is out there living life and I'm still here with covered up in this? Oh no. Oh no. And that's so true. And some of the times, some of the people who have hurt us have maybe transitioned to the other side. They're not even in the human experience anymore. Or it's clear that you are never going to get an apology from them. You are never going to get what you feel like you need from them. So, how do you work with that within yourself? And something else I was going to say.
Can I say this really quickly? Even that energy is weird.
Yeah.
To that, like you can't move on in your life unless somebody apologizes. What is the energy of an apology gonna really do for you? I think it's like I sometimes we're making people really big, making
Hmm.
situations really big, making
Yeah.
stuff really big. And it's just like the stories, like we gotta run and tell somebody, oh, they did this to me, just so we can like feel the pity party. But I think there's some point where sit with it though. Something really did happen to you. And so you can gain the enlightenment Because the only reason why you hurt is because you participated. Sometimes you get hurt having fun. You
Mhm.
weren't paying attention. And you got hurt because but what did you gain? What did you learn?
Yeah.
Okay, forgive it. Let's carry what we gained in consciousness in the positive on with our life.
Well, and that's so true. And again, for anyone who may be listening in, there is a range of things that people can go through, and there are people sometimes staying stuck on these apologies for something that really, in the grand scheme of your life, is it worth ruining your life over whatever this was? Now, there are also atrocities where you've got, there's a lot of trauma, a lot of abuse, tragedies, things like that. Getting to this place on those, ask me how I know, getting to this place on those kinds of things um takes some more work, and maybe that work may take years. The awareness is, though, is when you can get, and this takes a lot, when you can get to a space of recognizing, this is something that helped me, I don't know if it'll be helpful to anyone else, recognizing that every single human walking the earth has been an infant, has been a child, has been through some kind of something that you don't know, and they have their experiences that shaped who they are. That doesn't dismiss what you have gone through, but it's the understanding that this person has been walking around with whatever they're carrying, which then is now, because maybe they haven't learned how to forgive, or maybe they haven't learned how to heal, and now it's spilling out onto you. And by you continuing to do that, you continue the cycles that are going, and then it just keeps going. The more people that recognize their own divinity, their own um, grace, their own worthiness, and give themselves permission to see these other people as doing the best they can on their journey based on what they've experienced, it gives you a little bit more of a different perspective around things, and you start to see people through a different lens. What do you think about that?
I mean, if you're under 100 years old, what the hell do you really know? You know, you ain't even been on the planet that long. And there's this phrase where it's like, forgive them for they know not what they do.
Yeah.
Like, really do think there is a place where people are doing the best that they know how. And when I say the best they know how, I mean to live, not like their best to present for you or for me, but their best to live.
Yeah.
Everybody's on these different levels of survival where, like, I think the word trauma back in the day was like if you had a major injury, or if like you had a major incident where it was like you were kidnapped or somebody died all of a sudden in a dramatic way. But now trauma has come to just be like people having steady points and moments of just not getting along, just keeping up a bad environment for so long has become trauma. And I think like forgiving those things, for example, is like I grew up with a family that was very outspoken. I'm still pretty outspoken, but I grew up with a family that was very outspoken. And my uncle had called one time and he was like, put my mama on the phone. And I was like, Grandma, your crazy son calling. Why I do that? I kid you, it was 2 years ago. I had to been like 5 or 6 at the time. It was 2 years ago. He brought up, he was like, I ain't fooled with you since I called house. And he was like, hey, he had the story to the nine of exactly what I said, what day he called, what he was calling for, probably when he talked to his mama for, and exactly what I said to him that's pissed him off for the I was like, you've been holding on to that for 20 years. I am sorry. But like I really want you to sit here and sit like you've been holding that against me for this long.
Yeah.
ain't even been able to hang out over that. And did I lie? That's what I had to say. Them I lied on you, just it was just a day. Like you but just it was just a day. Like you held one day so long. That's what I'm saying. And I don't went on with my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and a lot of times we do, people are harmed sometimes by things that we've done. And we don't even know because everybody, it's like putting on all these different glasses, right, based on whatever experiences they've gone through. And you may have said one thing, and by the time it passed through all these filters and actually got into their ears, what they heard and how they took it was completely different than the original intention, you know. It's a very interesting process in all these different layers. So holistic healing is not about just focusing on a problem and continuing to focus on a problem and never getting out of the problem. It is about expanding the way that you see the problem, expanding all the other possibilities. And the more you expand, the smaller this problem actually gets.
Yeah,
And
getting through those layers too.
yeah,
It's like a lot of times I like to ask the client, like, where did this start at? You know what I'm saying? Like, when was the last time somebody did something like this and you felt this way? Like,
yeah,
let's catch the pattern of where it started, how it's affecting you, and how you're responding. And is this all appropriate for somebody at your big old age? That's why I'm joking. Like, I don't like to keep up with age because I'm eternal. But my is is like, is this appropriate in the present? Are you really just living all over the place, you know?
yeah. You know, it's gosh, it's such an interesting thing, this healing journey. I am currently working toward yoga therapist, and I am learning some modalities that really help people to release old trauma from the subconscious, but it's even bigger than that. So I'm a hypnotherapist where we work with the subconscious, but now I'm also a yoga nidra facilitator, which is, a lot of people don't even know what that is, and that is actually called yogic sleep. Now it's not actually sleep, but it's a deep, deep state. And you have, for most people, many of the people watching, you may only think of yourself as having a physical body, but you actually have a mental body and a wisdom body and a pain body. And so the bliss body is way out here, and sometimes it's in, it depends on which direction you're looking at it from. And you have what's called a samskara, and that is held out into the bliss body. And so yoga nidra helps you get into those deep, deep layers to actually release that. Now, what I was just finishing was called yoga body psychology, and that is actually, there are movements that you can do within the body to actually help release trauma that is stored in areas of the body. So it is absolutely fascinating to recognize that even though at 59 years old, I have been on a deep healing journey since I was 16. That's a long, long time. And I'm still learning new ways to release things that are still held in my physical body. It's amazing. Amazing.
It sounds exciting. You are someone who I know is educated in many different modalities,
Yeah.
all types. Like, I mean, I really stuck with just doing the readings, doing the meditations, and doing some business coaching here and there, and a lot of life coaching.
Yeah.
You have like hypnotherapy, isn't it called like reflexology? You
Well,
have
I don't do reflexology, but I do toe reading. So
how do the that you do the essential oils.
hmm
You are like the greatest coach. I mean, I'm already like one hand down and just naming things, and I've scratched the surface.
Well, what I found was that the people who need my help come with very unique needs. I always say I don't have a cookie cutter approach because my people are not cookies. I mean, as sweet as they are, they're not cookies, and they all have very unique circumstances, very unique needs. And the more I learn and the more modalities that I learn, because I've also needed them for myself, it's like being able to be equipped for what that particular person needs. I can create YouTube videos and sort of talk in generalities, and I can teach a course and it's kind of general and people can get a lot from that. But sometimes it's this very specific situation that they have going on that they've tried everything and cannot seem to figure out how to get to the other side. And so I even see this with practitioners. They're out there as holistic coaches or healers or practitioners, whatever they're doing, and they're out there helping the people. And yet they've also find that they're running into obstacles. Maybe something is stirred up for them, whether it's on the physical or the emotional or even the spiritual or the entrepreneurial level. And again, with my history I was a federal analyst, I was an executive assistant, I was an office manager, a facilities manager, a private investigator, all these different things help me take a person's life puzzle. I always say it sometimes can feel like it's a jigsaw puzzle that you lost the picture for, and maybe it fell on the floor, and then maybe you found out there's a whole bunch of pieces that go to different puzzles in your box, and you're just like, what do I do with this? And to be able to really help people find those solutions for themselves, you know? Um,
Yeah, I am able to really speak to people who have all those things going on and just get them back into like what they really should be doing with all those things. And I do think everything is just preparation for the purpose.
it is.
But because that's why all those possibilities were there, right? Just
Absolutely.
I also feel like it's really so great when I do hear what you're saying because it's like it's some people who just keep buying different card decks. Like I got card decks, I got a crystal ball, I do the energy readings, I do it, and I think like at the point where I became like a Reiki master, that's where I was like, okay, I think I got enough stuff.
Mhm.
Like I'm
Yeah.
just gonna, but then it's like you still kind of keep refining what you have. Like I feel like I'm up to like I don't know, over 25 different type of meditation. I have active meditations, I have sitting meditations, I have like listening, silent, all these different type of meditations, visual, any type of meditation, just
Yeah.
because I also feel like at some point you get bored and you be wanting to see what else spirit has out there for you.
Well, and I was talking to someone about this the other day, and I think the challenge for some of us is, we may hear the same information from multiple different people, but that may not be our person. And I really do believe that our voices have certain frequencies that we speak at, and it's going to resonate with this person and not resonate with this person. And that's why I don't see among the people who are called to help other people, I don't believe in competition. I don't believe in any of that. I believe that I see us as lighthouses here to help the people in the world. And then um, there are people, the more people I bring on and have these conversations, someone may hear my voice and think, well, that's great, but I don't really get it. And they may hear your voice and say, I don't know what it is about him, but I need to talk to him, and I think that's what is so important to me is how can I reach more people? Like, how can I reach? Because I know there are people out there who feel lost, they feel alone, they feel like they don't know where to turn. And being able to, I just try to come up with other ways to shine light in another area, and maybe they'll see it, and maybe they'll see it. And that really for me is the whole basis of my being.
Yeah, I do believe that we are all here with like light and cargo. We're all here with what we're bringing physically, what we're bringing energetically, what we're bringing visionarily. I
Yeah.
think it's what to use. And I do think it's like we're coming from so many different spaces. Like, are you really sitting and just studying yourself?
Mhm.
Really to get to know the big self. I like that. The
Yeah.
big and but I really think like there's a centered self where we can operate from that space because I do think like a lot of people are lost on their purpose. They're drifting, they're drifting, they're drifting, they're drifting. And they're sad because they're like in the drifting, it just feels like at some point you're drowning, you're drowning, you're drowning. And
Mhm.
I think there's just the people trying to help others get to shore because like you're not drifting, you're not drowning. You just have to float. Like I think when you embrace your life
Yeah.
really fully, you get to get in that peace that is in the center of the storm. It's like,
Yeah.
is it really a storm? It's gonna be over soon
Yeah.
because storms don't last. They never last.
They don't, and sometimes you can forget about that. Going back to traumas, some of the traumas I have are from actual storms. I'm from Oklahoma, and there's a lot going on there right now with storms. And that's part of why I use that metaphor, is because they don't stop. They really don't stop. But how can you strengthen yourself so that when the storms come,
You weather the
you
storm.
weather the storm rather than carrying that with you, continuing to carry it with you all through whatever else is coming for you. And, for the entrepreneurs that come on here, part of what I see sometimes is they get stuck with things like the marketing part, which I know I've done, or the messaging part, or the tech seems to be a challenge. And I'm like, okay, well, there may be one small thing, one small obstacle keeping this person from completely, opening up their lighthouse so that their people can find them. And so I'm so excited to look at the different ways that we can help each other shine on this journey. And maybe, the more people I know, the more people I have conversations with, I can get to learn a little bit more about what they do. And maybe I'm working with a client who has a particular need, and I'm thinking, well, that's not necessarily something I do. Oh, but I know someone who does this, and I've had a conversation with them, or I've worked with them in some way, and I feel like they might be an excellent fit for you. And bringing all of those lighthouses together so that we've got a um, that we have more ability to be in our purpose. It's a big world out there. And if people are trying to find us and they can't find us, how do I help us amplify our lights so more people can find us?
I
And
think
that's
that's
kind of what
beautiful.
I'm after. Yeah.
And it's also like connecting the lights also to where like I don't know, somehow everything seems brighter when the lights are more connected, more so than like just all out and about. But
Mhm.
also feel like it's really genuine when you have the opportunity in the space to just encourage people who are doing good, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And even when it comes to people who are like, if you are an entrepreneur and you are in spirituality, a lot of that is scary because people have taught you that you can't make money from your gifts unless you're Beyonce. And I'm here to tell you, you can make money from your gifts. I haven't really had a job. I don't wouldn't say, Tammy, since you know me, you've known that I've just been a very free spirit.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, because it just I'm gifted. And I just really just keep with my purpose because I think my purpose and my gifts, they just make room for me to just be myself and be where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed. But also it's like, don't say you can't. I
Mm.
feel like a lot of these things can be taught. There are all the books for dummies.
Yeah.
Okay. To say you can't do something in 2022 or 2024, whatever year we in, to say you can't at this day and age where there is a YouTube video to show you how you can.
Hmm.
Let's just do.
So true. And, and that's the thing. When I'm working with someone personally, I talk to them about words that I invite them to take out of their vocabulary. And of course, can't is on the top of the list. What I was going to say about the lighthouses is the other thing that I've found, and you've probably seen, some sort of graphic or meme or whatever going around about this, like, sometimes when you're the lighthouse, you don't know you're the lighthouse and it feels really dark and you're looking for someone to help you and you're looking for light and you can't find the light and you can't find the light because you are the light. And that's the part. And that was another inspiration, I guess, for me for doing this particular podcast, is because I want the people who are out there serving the people to also to be able to remember their light, and when they can't see a light, that they can see the light from the rest of us and go, oh, that's right, there really is a reason for me to do this, there really is a purpose, there really are others of us here that can help, and yeah, I get pretty teary because this journey can feel very, very lonely, whether it's the human experience or whether it's the spiritual path. And that's also part of the journey, is that I went through several periods where I was in complete isolation, like no human touch, almost no human contact. And that was also part of it. And I think it's helpful for people to know, oh, yeah, I went through that too. Yeah, I've been through that too, so that they know, okay, I'm going to take another step forward and it may look like the abyss, but the step will show up if you just take it. The next step will present if you just take the step.
Most definitely agree. And I just think like that's where the faith comes in. Because even if you can't read or you can't watch YouTube, like Stevie Wonder somehow plays the piano and writes the best music. Okay. So
Mhm.
I'm saying all that to say this. Sometimes if you really mean it and it's coming from your heart, it's coming from the divine, it will still align.
Yeah.
Whether you know how it's gonna work out, because I'm telling you, that trip we was on was one of the most miraculous things. Like if we could like just talk about it from both point of views, like
Yeah.
what was going on your side, what was going on your side, on my side, in a book maybe, to just people just wow, this they just did it. Like it just was something like we talked about it, we
Mhm.
talked about it, and we did it. It just wasn't really nothing else to do. And life aligned.
It did. It really did. And I love the fact that we used to tease about, Aquarians on the road or Aquarians on a podcast or whatever we used to say. And here we are again. And I think there's something profound about that. And it's just, there are no accidents out there. Everything that's happening has a bigger meaning to it, a bigger purpose. It doesn't always feel that way. Sometimes you can really get caught up in the, oh my gosh, what is happening in my life? What is going on? And it really is all connected. And you are getting signs and messages and guidance all the time. You just don't always recognize that's what's happening. So
And that's going to be like you ready for a change. Bring me a Tammy into the thing, okay? We are change makers. And when I say makers, we can bring you into the space where I feel like you can open up safely because you know what? Me and Tammy are intense people, and
yeah.
we'll give you space to be your own intense self. You'll be surprised. We've seen a lot, and it
Yeah.
ain't too much you can do. At least for Tammy, it's not too much you can do. I still think I got a little shock left, but I It's nothing we could do. Like I'm telling you, and Tammy, just to just speak of you, this is so I don't have to sound like I'm bragging about myself, but you are so non-judgmental. Like even when you said like in the beginning, you might have was like, "Who is this guy? What is he? Why is he?" You still took the opportunity to listen. I'm just someone who likes to push the boundaries on things, just so people can really see themselves.
That's it. And the thing is I loved that so much. We became friends, and it's just, one of the things that the biggest gift that I want to give people is the space to feel safe enough to become everything that they are. And so many people come to me in pain and fear of judgment and fear of, you know, some sort of backlash because they might think differently than someone else, or maybe they feel differently than someone else, or maybe they dress differently than whatever it is. A lot of people that come to me have been in certain religions and they're not in those religions anymore, or they feel like they're not aligned, but they're so afraid to take that stand for themselves because it impacts every piece of their life. And sometimes they just need some place that's safe enough for them to say, this doesn't work for me anymore, and I'm terrified and I don't know how to move forward. And it could be any area of life. It could be a relationship, it could be their health, it could be a religion, it could be a job, it could be anything. It could be the way they wear their hair, it could be their um whatever. It could be anything. And just being able to hold space for someone that is safe, where they can go, oh my gosh, I had no idea how freeing it was just to be able to speak something that was on my heart. That's everything. So we're coming to the end of our time, dear friend. Is there any last words you have for the viewers?
Okay, let me take a deep breath, tap in.
Okay.
Each new day really is the opportunity to be your best self. You really have a chance right now, today, to say, I'm going to be better than yesterday, and tomorrow can be better than yesterday. And really, you can really enjoy the now with hope, optimism, and just great positivity, knowing that everything from this moment forward can continuously get better. I think like when me and Tammy are talking about you can endure this storm, you can get past the storm, you can see these storms through. There is joy on the other side of the storm. Sometimes we go through storms and we get into those sad spaces, but on the
Yeah.
other side spaces are honest tears of joy. There may be someone who's like watching this, like, I don't know how I'm gonna pay my rent. But I tell you this, when you do get that rent paid, or even if you go on your next journey, when you get to your next home, you're gonna feel so just so overwhelmingly blessed. You're gonna be like, you may be thankful for the storm. So you just roll with it sometime. And that's just all I'm really trying to say. Just roll with it. And life will continuously unfold. Oh, Tammy told me this when we was talking in a session. I talk about in the worst of times we survive.
I remember that. Thank you, J'ahmad. Well, thank you everyone for watching the Holistic Podcast. I hope that you've enjoyed this conversation with J'ahmad Emanuel. We thank you so much for joining us and look forward to seeing you in the next episode. We are uploading every Saturday. Thank you for watching. See you next time.